Hello and welcome. So today, we're going to talk about something that has totally flipped our understanding of what it means to be successful. I mean, in our careers, our relationships, everything. We're diving into emotional intelligence, what some people call the other smart. If you've ever looked at someone with a sky-high IQ who's struggling, or someone with an average IQ who's just soaring, well, you're about to find out why. This quote from Daniel Goleman, the guy who really brought this idea to the masses, is kind of the perfect starting point. For so long, we all thought IQ was it, the ultimate predictor of success. But there was always this performance gap, a puzzle that didn't quite fit. Being book smart gets you in the door, for sure. But it's this other thing, this EQ, that truly separates the high flyers from everyone else. And that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's what pushed researchers to look past the usual tests and numbers. And what they discovered, honestly, it changed everything. It changed how we run companies, how we build teams, even how we connect with the people we love. All right, so to really get a handle on this, we got to go back and see where it came from. This whole concept didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It was more like a slow burn revolution in how we think about what people are capable of. The story really kicks off back in the 80s. A guy named Howard Gardner started saying, hey, maybe there's more than one way to be smart. But the real light bulb moment was in 1990, when two psychologists, Salovey and Mayer, gave it an official name, emotional intelligence. Then, fast forward to 1995, and Daniel Goleman's book just blew the whole thing wide open. It went from an academic paper to a topic everyone was talking about, literally overnight. Okay, so that's the history, but what is emotional intelligence, really? Let's peel back the layers and get to the core of it. At its most basic, EI is all about being smart with feelings, yours and other people. This isn't about ignoring your emotions or pushing them down. No way. It's about recognizing them, understanding what they're telling you, and then using that information to make better decisions and connect with people. It's a skill set, a really dynamic one, for just navigating life. What's pretty interesting is that researchers don't all look at EI in the same way. There are a few different models. The ability model treats it like a straight-up mental skill, just like IQ. The mixed model, which is Goleman's, throws personality traits into the, mix. And the treat model is more about how we see our own emotional skills. For today, we're mostly going to stick with the first two. So let's zoom in on that ability model, because it shows you how this skill builds on itself. Think of it like 4 levels. Level 1 is just perceiving emotions, being able to read a room or notice you're feeling anxious. Then level 2 is using those emotions to help you think, like using a happy mood to get creative. Level 3 is understanding them, knowing that disappointment can curdle into resentment if you let it. And the final level, the boss level, is managing emotions, choosing how you respond instead of just having a knee-jerk reaction. So we've covered the what. Now for the big why. Why has this idea completely taken over the business world? Well, the numbers, they speak for themselves. Get ready for this one. Research shows that EQ can account for almost 90% of what sets top-performing leaders apart from the average ones. Let that sink in. Not their degrees, not their technical genius, their emotional intelligence. It's just a massive number, and it shows you what the real secret sauce is at the highest levels. And a huge piece of that advantage comes down to one simple word: empathy. A study found that leaders who really get empathy, truly understand where other people are coming from, they perform over 40% higher in things like coaching their people, getting others fired up, and even making smarter calls. And you can see this trend in hiring too. It's not just a hunch. A whopping 71% of employers now say they value emotional intelligence more than IQ. They get it. You can teach someone a new software, but teaching them how to work well with others, how to communicate, how to connect, that's the real gold. And if you want proof from the very top, look no further. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, puts empathy at the absolute center of their incredible turnaround. He basically says that real innovation happens when you deeply understand what your customers actually need and feel. It's not a fluffy, nice-to-have thing. It's a cold, hard business strategy. But here's the thing. The power of EQ doesn't just stop when you clock out at 5. It's pretty much the blueprint for building any strong, lasting personal relationship. So the Gottman Institute has been studying couples for decades, and they found something fascinating. Happy couples and unhappy couples, they fight about the same amount. Conflict is normal. The real difference isn't whether you fight, but how you fight. The couples that thrive use emotionally intelligent tools to work through disagreements, turning a potential disaster into a moment of connection.
Gottman actually identified 4 communication patterns that are so toxic he called them the 4 horsemen. You've got criticism, which attacks the person, contempt, which is just plain nasty, defensiveness, or playing the victim, and stonewalling, which is shutting down completely. But, and this is the key part, for every single one, there's an EQ-based antidote. Instead of criticizing, you can gently bring up an issue with an I statement. Instead of contempt, you build a habit of appreciation. Instead of getting defensive, you take a little responsibility. And instead of stonewalling, you learn to hit pause and calm down. These are all skills you can learn. Which brings us to the most important question of all. We know what it is, we know why it's a game changer, so how do we actually get more of it? And this is hands down the best news. Your IQ, it's pretty much set, but your EQ, that's a different story. It's a skill, and just like learning a language or an instrument, you can get better at it with practice. It doesn't matter how old you are or where you're starting from, you can grow your emotional intelligence. So where do you start? A fantastic foundation is mindfulness. All it really means is paying attention to what's happening right now, your thoughts, your feelings, without judging them. This simple act of noticing builds self-awareness, and self-awareness is the bedrock of every other emotional skill. Okay, here's a super practical tool you can use, like today. It's called the meta moment. When you feel that spark of anger or frustration, that trigger, the first thing you do is just pause. That's it, just stop. Next, take a really deep breath. This literally calms down your nervous system. Then, visualize your best self. Who's the person you want to be in this moment? And finally, from that calmer place, you get to choose how you act, instead of letting your impulse choose for you. Pause, breathe, visualize, choose. And of course, there are tons of other ways to build that EQ muscle. You could keep a journal to get better at naming your feelings. Practice really listening to someone without interrupting. You could even ask for feedback from people you trust. Hey, studies even show that reading good fiction helps build empathy. The point is, there are lots of paths, as long as you're putting in the work. All of this really points to a huge shift in how we see ourselves, something neuroscience is now confirming. For centuries, we thought of feelings as these messy, irrational things that got in the way of clear thinking, but we had it completely backward. As one neuroscientist famously put it, we are not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think. Our emotions aren't a bug, they're a feature. They are the data that drives our decisions. So I want to leave you with a question, not an answer. Now that you know that this ability to understand and manage emotions is so incredibly critical for a good life, what are you going to do with that knowledge? What's one small thing you'll do tomorrow to start flexing that EQ muscle?
Rise up, rise high. Let your spirit take flight. Chase the stars, never back.